Good afternoon. Good afternoon. For everybody that's watching this at 4 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, May 14th, I'm so happy that you're joining with us today. I have a really, really talented individual. When Trevor Castleberry sent him my way, I was reading about him and I can't tell you. It's just amazing. It testifies to the fact that there are so many just amazing and talented alumni that have come out of APRCHS Randolph Campus High School. I'm going to read you a little information about Dr. Jamie Parker. All right. He has a company called Me O'Clock. He founded it. Born and raised in the Bronx by a single mother, Jamie refused to become another statistic. With hard work and determination, he was able to beat the odds. Jamie graduated with a bachelor's and master's degree in biology from Lehman College. Recently got his doctorate. As an athlete in college, Jamie understood the importance of maintaining a strong, healthy foundation and utilized sports and exercise as fuel for the driving force of his mind. He brought home a championship ring for swimming and received numerous trophies and medals for track and basketball. Jamie conducted research at Einstein Medical School, Hunter, Lehman, Columbia, and the University of Akron. He has published several articles and is currently working toward his doctorate, which he's already accomplished. He has taught college students for 7 years while being a community activist, motivational speaker, and mentor to the youth, while giving lectures at various schools on the importance of good education and providing children and their parents with the proper tools and networks to seek it. Jamie realized that his success can motivate others to do the same. I've been checking out the clothing line, the watches, just really an amazing story. And I'm so glad that you're here to watch it, whether you're viewing this now or later. Dr. Jamie Parker, thank you and welcome to the show. Motivational speaker.
Yeah, no, I'm
mentor to the youth while giving lectures at various schools on the importance of good education and providing children. Right, so you gotta shut the volume up.
Hello?
Video, and then you should be good.
Oh, okay, great. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely. The video's a little fuzzy, but hopefully
okay?
the stream will work out.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, great. Yeah, well, I'm glad to be here. It's a pleasure to see you again. I remember seeing you in the halls, some years ago. And, thank you so much for reaching out. And I'm hoping I could share some information or something helpful to the people that they can utilize and grow with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what it's all about. So, I mean, I really want to get into your story. You've done so much. There's a lot to talk about. I do want to get into a little bit of the Randolph story and just how you've gotten to where you are now. But I think it would be really interesting just to get a sense of where you are now. So if you can talk to us a little bit about the things that you're doing currently, and then follow that up with just something that you would like folks to take away from your story in general. From this interview, what would you like folks to understand and remember as they're listening to your story and they walk away from this interview today or in the future?
Wow, that was a lot. That might take me a good 45 minutes. I'm gonna try to summarize.
We got time.
Like 3 minutes.
We got time.
I would say, I guess how I got here is just through understanding that, if you don't come from a rich family must come from you. And so it's just understanding that idea and just doing whatever I needed to do. And one way I felt I could get to a higher, a better place was through academia. I can't sit here and act like, academia was easy. It was very difficult and trying. I'm lucky to have found some mentors and great leaders that really helped me through, like Dr. Emden, Dr. Steinberg, Dr. Celia Ruiz, Dr. Mensa, Dr. Sawyer. Like, these people really, assisted me in, my final years of my PhD and, my master's, Dr. Marion Baumschot, just a lot of great people I've had the opportunity to work with, but trying to gravitate toward the people that wanted to see me grow as opposed to running from them. And as opposed to, when I got down, I tried to use the gym to, boost me up and give me the, the confidence I needed to continue on. You know.
I love that. And I mean, in terms of what you're doing right now, what exactly, what position? I know you got the clothing company. We definitely want to talk about that. So maybe you can just spend just a few seconds on, the website, the clothing company, what the inspiration behind Mia Clock, because that's an interesting story, and I'm looking forward to rocking some apparel and gear. I like the watches a lot that I saw. I'm a big watch guy, so I'd love you to talk about that. But aside from the clothing company, and I don't want to downplay this at all, because I'm like, I want to have a clothing company. I want to do some things on that end. So I think, if we can talk a little bit later on about how you were able to accomplish that, I think that'll be something that people will take away from this and be extremely valuable. But what are you doing on the science side? I always think about these things. Trevor's a great example, much younger guy, right? But I mean, he's an engineer. He's got a great day job. And I think the fact that he's got the engineer education allows him to think about things a little bit differently. So his side hustle is a little bit better than my side hustle. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I feel like it's just all about, I don't know, just staying around hungry people and trying to like use that energy to figure out what you might be missing. That's what I feel like it's really about. Just understanding what you might be missing and surrounding yourself with those type of individuals who can boost you up, so to speak. If that helps. But I'm definitely here to assist you. Like, I'm definitely here to assist anyone. I would say, with the watches, it was just something I wanted to create because I needed something to motivate myself. Because, at times I didn't feel very motivated, and I didn't have anybody that would or could, motivate me to, sometimes you have to just hope that, you can find that peace within yourself that wants to keep going, because it's important. And that's why I created the Mia Clock company. And I started with watches, and then people said, oh, you got watches, but you have shirts. And then once you got the shirts, it's like, okay, do you have hats? It's like, then hats turn to polos and polos turn to hoodies. And it's just, figuring out different things that people wanted,
That's great. Can you talk to me a little about your experience as a scientist?
Yes. So, right now we have a hair regrowth product. And, it's growing hair on, everybody who uses it. People have really enjoyed it, and I'm grateful for the people, who got involved, and I'm grateful for the people who got involved, and they really liked it. It wasn't easy to develop, but we got it done, and people are excited,
Okay, so let's get into the story, because I mean, I definitely want to pull the details out of you in terms of like your science background, how you got into science, all that kind of stuff, because I think that's a big inspirational part of your story. I know I was looking at that aspect of your story, the doctorate, just the fact that you've done teaching. I've been into education most of my life. I've been a board member for SBI for, I don't know, close to 10 years now, I think. And I've been involved with SBI for the last 24 years. And I'm really passionate about education because I was a little lost in high school and didn't finish college. I'm always surprised when I go back. I don't know if it's white privilege or just the way I hold myself, but people will often make them say, "Oh, you're a college graduate." You're da-da-da. Nope. And I think the opportunities, when you are passionate about something, when you have that certificate on the wall, the opportunity that gives you to be able to go and do other things, whether it's teaching, whether it's being applicable for that government position or that university position, those kind of things. I look up to that. I look up to you in that sense where you have those opportunities available to you. So I'd love to hear about that story. So why don't we get right into the interview aspect of this? Talk to us. How did you find Randolph? So you were in middle school and you were applying to different high schools. Can you remember that far back now?
I heard it was going to be a good school. I looked it up. It seemed great, and I just went for it. I was a little surprised at how many fights were occurring. It was one of those situations where.
What years? Tell us the years you were there again.
Oh, okay. I was there in 2002.
So you were class of 1998. So 1998 to 2002.
Yes. And so I don't know. It wasn't easy times. I feel like I was definitely smarter before I came in than when I left, unfortunately. And it was just one of those places where you had to, just be, you had to, I don't know, like it just. I'm sure it was great for some people. I feel like it could have been a lot better for me, but it just wasn't. I feel like there was a lot of things that was missing. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna just sugarcoat it. Like I feel like there was a lot of things that could have been a lot better. I feel like if you weren't part of certain groups, you didn't really get the best experience. And I feel like if I was a part.
Talk to me about, and Elizabeth G-Man says, so proud of you, Jamie.
Hey, Liz, good to see you.
So talk to me about, so you're coming out of junior high, you go into Randolph. What's your first impressions as you're going into the building?
I don't even know what happened freshman year. I just know that like I had like a 90 GPA, freshman year. And it just, but after that, it was downhill. Like, I needed someone to guide me. I needed someone to be with me. And I wish they were with me a little bit more, and, I feel like there was a lot of bright individuals and they, it's not so much they, I just, it just needed to be molded just a little bit more. I
had a very, even though I didn't go to Randolph as a student, I was downtown at a, interesting school called School of the Future on 23rd Street or 22nd Street, actually. And then my senior year was 1996. And that year I came up and I interned with Mr. Thompson. And I was calling record labels like Duck Down and Bad Boy for promotional stuff because we were at the time, a big part of the program was teaching high school students business using the music industry as a way to bring people in. We've since moved to more of a format where we bring people in through the performing arts. So performance arts groups. So that's your UB, Sisters, West Indian, Latin DVD, the production crew. And so in order to be a part of that, and to be on stage, and all that goes with it. You have to be a part of the academic program. You got to do the career day, come during your lunch period and get, some information from Thompson. When you were in high school at Randolph, were you a part of any of the extracurricular programs at all?
I played basketball for the school. That was a great time. I had a lot of good teammates. I feel like we had a chance to bond a little bit. It could have been a lot. We could have really excelled a lot further. But, I feel like the coaching, he didn't care as much as he could have. And,
what team?
It's just a lot of things weren't.
You're on a sport?
The basketball team.
On the basketball team. Okay.
Yeah, basketball. So I played the basketball, I was swimming, but then swimming combined with basketball, so I couldn't do both at the same time. And yeah, I feel like, I just feel like I said, like the school has and had a lot of potential. And it just takes funding, and it takes care, and it takes, being in the students' faces and letting them know what they can really do with school, and not just saying school is good for you, eat it. You know what I mean? Like, it takes time to develop that love for school, and you don't just tell them it's good, but show them why it's good. Show them the careers they can get, And I feel like there's something that's just been missing, not only at the high school setting, also in the middle school setting, and also the college setting.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about, the SBI program, and not that it's a solution for all folks. I mean, there was only on any given year, at the most, 200 students participating in Randolph, and it's a building that, goes from like 1,400 to 1,600 students. So statistically, if you went through Randolph, you didn't go through SBI, but, for the lucky few that got into the program one way or another, there was definitely at least the opportunity to have somebody guiding you and pushing you. So I definitely hear you on that. So let's talk about you're getting to the end of your Randolph experience. Was there any standout highlights that were particularly positive? I know it wasn't the most ideal experience, but was there anything that sort of stood out as a really positive piece on the academic side from Randolph?
No, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. It wasn't a good. It was like I came in there. Like I'm telling you, like in comparison to a lot of the people that I was raised around, like I think my K-8 level of education was superior. Where'd you go time I spent in there.
Where'd you go for primary?
I went to. Well, it was actually the same school, luckily. So it was called PS19. It was over in Woodlawn.
Okay.
And man, like my level of thought, like everything they taught me, like it just carried me through Randolph. Like I never built on it except for a guy named Mr. Liner. But he was just an amazing math teacher. Like the only thing I learned in there was math. And I learned everything I know in math till today from his class in 10th grade. Like that guy was a wizard.
At PS19.
And like I said, I was great. I'm sorry.
PS19, Mr. Liner?
Yeah. No. So Mr. Liner was in Randolph, but in PS19, like PS19 carried me from kindergarten through 8th grade. It was but it was just like, man, it was just everything. It was just a great school.
Shout out to Mr. Liner.
Free.
I think I might have ran into Mr. Liner, but I don't really remember the name really well. But I've never known the teachers as well as I've known the students at Randolph. Sometimes I was at odds and with teachers because I'm trying to hustle kids into extracurriculars, and we're doing performances and we're doing this and that, and the teachers weren't always necessarily happy seeing me coming along trying to usher kids into doing different things. But shout out to Mr. Liner. So that's good that there was a really positive teacher. So I'm glad to hear that. So you're now your junior year, senior year. College is on the horizon. Tell us about that experience.
Oh man, I mean, thinking about going to college, a friend of mine told me, she said, Jamie, you weren't really thinking about going to college because everybody in my neighborhood wasn't thinking about going to college. And without that influence of people in school, like you said, SBI, provided a great experience, to the people who are lucky enough to be a part of it. However, the people who weren't, all they had really had was the influences in their neighborhood and the media. And, so I wasn't really thinking about college, at all. And the only reason I even went is because, I had some close friends, and then we stopped being close like that. And so I was like, all right, let me just spend my time doing something and let me just go to school, And so, but that experience is what led me into college, me not feeling that bond with people I grew up with as much. And so I'm like, it made me recognize that, you have to put your time into things that you can never lose. Sometimes you put in the people and they disappear or they do something and you're not close. And so it made me put my time into health and education. And that's where my time went from there. But that's what really made me go to school, was that experience.
So what schools did you apply to? How was that process? How did you decide where you were going to go to school?
Honestly, I had I had a 75 average leaving high school, and it wasn't something I was proud of. I could have had a 90 if I would have applied myself. But anyway, short story shorter, I only applied to one school, which was Lehman, and I got in. I was originally going to go and be a refrigerator service repair person, but then they email me back or something like that, and they said, "Oh, you missed this signature." And so once they said, "Oh, you missed a signature," I was like, "Oh my God, this is a sign. Maybe I shouldn't be going to the school." And so I didn't go, and I went to Lehman, and then, got my master's. I mean, we got my bachelor's and got my master's, and now, just finished the PhD.
Talk to us about that. Lehman is one of those schools that, we're typically pushing students to go out of the city, get more different experience than, being in the city. But you went to school in the city. Where were you living at the time, by the way?
In the Bronx. I was living in the Bronx.
And did you go to the campus for Lehman?
Not too far. Riding my bike. I'm sorry?
Did you go to the campus in the Bronx for Lehman?
Yeah. I mean, I think they only have, one school for the most part. Like, I don't think they have like remote settings yet. Like one here, satellite campus here. I don't think they have that yet. But, it wasn't easy. I worked the entire time. I rode my bike to work in the morning. I worked at the hospital. And then right from the hospital, I rode my bike to school. And I did that, my entire time there. And it wasn't easy. There was little guidance there. You gotta
give me more details. So you worked at the hospital. What'd you do at the hospital?
I worked in the nutrition department, and I worked as a diet clerk, and I was the only male who was allowed in the diet office. Everybody else had to pretty much do manual labor, but because they trusted me, they allowed me to actually work, in the office. And I printed out reports, and then sometimes I would, do different things as well.
So what was different? What was different about you? Well, how did you earn their trust?
Who I came in under? I came in under Liz, a woman named Liz, and she was, she was big, so she said, "Listen, Jamie's good, put him in here." And so that's what really got me in, and I just tried to maintain it by doing good work. And so that's what I think really distinguished me from it. And then the fact I was in school, and I think that experience, like me seeing people like, in 40s and 50s become content with their life and not really recognize their potential, that made me want to stay in school. I'm like, gosh, you guys are very nice people, but I don't feel as though you lived up to your potential. And I understand certain circumstances happen. However, I feel like at some point you got to turn it up a notch. And if they haven't or can't, I wish that I had the funding to get them to that next level that they feel they may be missing. I feel that next level may not be for everybody, but for those who want it or don't know how to get it, I would love to talk to them and figure out how we could make that possible. Or, I wish I could get it, like I said, get enough money so that I can make it possible for them,
So you're in Lehman. What was the hospital that you were working at?
Oh, Montefiore Hospital.
Oh yeah, Montefiore is big. Yeah. So you're working in Montefiore. You're going to Lehman. Was there anything that you really liked about the Lehman program or disliked about the Lehman program? And you stayed there for a while. You got not only did you get your bachelor's degree, but you got your master's as well.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. There was a lot more that they could have did. There was a lot more that they could have did to show me they cared. When I left, we had a great relationship, but I feel like while I was there, I felt very alone. I didn't feel like I was guided at all. And I don't mean to make it seem like every school I went to was bad, but it wasn't as good as it could have been.
No, I understand that. And listen, when we're advising students, and I'm, one of the good things about Randolph right now is, we have another principal, Principal David Fanning. I think he's doing a pretty good job with the school. The school has been through a lot. When the school was founded, we had the Lottie Taylor. I don't think anybody's come in that's been more of a visionary and just hardcore woman of color that was about providing a quality education in Harlem. It's tough when you have a founder of a school that sets such a high bar, and then you're dealing with DOE politics as a public school. It's tough to create an institution that lives up to everything that it should. That being said, David Fanning's been doing a pretty good job. I think the last 5-6 years, maybe longer. And the school has come back in a sense, especially on some of the academic things. It's a big school. It's one of the last remaining big schools. So I think, your experience is not one that is very different from a lot of kids that went to school during your time and even after you. Henry Rubio years, not a horrible individual, but maybe not the best principal of Randolph in terms of history, right? So when we talk about Lehman, I actually, it's a CUNY school. It's in the city. It's not as well funded as some of the other city and state universities. There's a lot of red tape. If you're going to a community college, you have to understand that, yes, it may cost less, but, like a lot of things, sometimes that value and the value of the education are tied together. So we'll tell people, hey, this is where if you go across the street to City College, the quality of the education may not be as good as at Middlebury College, which is where Thompson sent his kids, by the way. It has a 91% graduation rate, 46 years versus City College, which, if you go into the Sophie Davis program at City College, it's one of the best medical programs in the country. But if you just go in as a regular student, you have a 6% chance of graduating. Those are hard odds, so I think that, that, right. Having a grain of salt with all of that kind of stuff is really important. And knowing those statistics and numbers is really important, right? I mean, as a student coming out of high school, if you don't have an understanding of those numbers, you're at a disadvantage. And as smart as Trevor is, a really great part of his story was just sort of an acknowledgement of it. I didn't see guidance when I was high school. I didn't, I was doing my thing and I thought I was doing the right thing. But, his 3-2 program, there was I think only 2 actual students at the school that took part in that 3-2 program. Now, as well as I am, if it's a lottery ticket for you to get a successful path to the education that you're looking for, maybe that's not the program for you. I know he talked a lot about being, at St. Michael's, part of the most diverse class in the history of St. Mike's, which was 25 students or something like that, which again, it's a big school, not a big school, but, it's 1,000 kids or something like that. And to be only 25 students of color. Yes, the most diverse ever, but still very small. So knowing and understanding those numbers, I get it. I really do. And I'm hoping that, folks see you and they say, listen, man, you can do it, especially if you didn't have the grades, you don't have the support. You can stick to it, and I admire your stick to it. You might not have had the most impressive or lovely experience, but you stuck through it. I mean, not only did you stick through it, but you got the degrees. It's crazy.
I mean, yeah, I'm grateful. I just, sometimes you just got to look at the situation like, what else are you going to be doing? And you can make you could make some decent money. But if you just sacrifice that money, then you can make a lot more, in the future. Who are
the people in your life that kind of kept you going? Because I mean, you have a nice outlook on things, that whole idea of, what else could you be doing? Because a lot of people would be like, well, what else I can be doing? I can be over here working at Foot Locker. I can make my money and I don't have to deal with this BS over here. I don't see the future in this, but obviously you saw some goals at the end of the road. You saw some things. I imagine there were some good people in your life that were giving you a little bit of direction.
What's interesting is that no one really, I can say told me to keep going to school. No one said, Jamie, you gotta go to college. You gotta, knock this out. This is gonna help you. And if I ever quit, nobody would have pushed me to go back. It's nice if you should. It'd be, but nobody was in my ear, keeping me in it. You know what I mean? Nobody's yo, I'm whatever need to happen. We're gonna make this work. It was never none. It's just something that I just felt within my heart of hearts that needed to happen. And I feel for me at least, as a man of color, I know that it's difficult to get acknowledged or known or even discussed if you don't have any reason for people to want to talk to you. So I'm like, listen, if I get this PhD, then maybe people will want to talk to me. You know what I mean? Like, talk to me on a business level. You know, talk to me on, on that side. You know, like, yeah, I love being a teacher. I love teaching students. You know, I teach students all the time. You know, I teach at Fordham University. I teach at Lehman College. I've taught at University of Akron. Teaching. You know, these students have always been great. But I'm like, listen. I don't. Even with a teacher's salary, you're gonna make anywhere from 75 to 110K, right? My whole thing is that's great, but is that money in the US right now? I'm like, yo, I want to have that salary, and I want to create businesses that allow me to get, 700K a year. Then I want to build these businesses up and then maybe try to sell them for like, a few hundred million, or maintain it and make it $1 billion company, or use the money I get and buy other companies. And I've been fortunate to where people have, friends have understood my vision and wanted to work with me, and have even in some cases invested in me and supported the products that I put out, and a lot of different, areas I've gone into. Honestly, it wasn't some of the people who I thought it would be, but the people who were there, I always cherish and remember and be grateful for. And I'm just grateful for any support, whether it comes from a friend or stranger, and just trying to be great and a model citizen for, the people in my community and for people of color everywhere, and just being, being a good person, as well.
That's awesome. Well, I'm surprised to know that there wasn't anybody that was in your ear. I figured Mom Dukes would be there, or somebody would be, rah, like keep going. But, it makes your story even more interesting that you just had the wherewithal to say, hey, I know what I want to do. I know what I want to be, and move towards it. That's fierce.
Right. And you know what one person told me, my cousin Mike, he told me, Jamie, what allowed you to be successful is your mom gave you a place to come home to if any situation didn't go right. He said, and some people never had that comfort. So he said that's what gave you a landing pad, that may, and people could say, somebody paying for their college gave them a landing pad. You know what I mean? Like people can always find an excuse as to why you are succeeding and they didn't. But sometimes we have to deal with, what we have available to us and make the best out of it. When things, when the school in Ohio didn't work out for me when I was doing my PhD, the advisor left, I had to call, NAACP. I feel like they was being racist, discrimination was occurring. I could have quit, but I kept going.
Like that was interesting stories about the University of Akron as well.
I'm sorry?
Trevor had some interesting stories about the University.
Oh, yeah. And they fired all of the staff that were people of color. And it just, it's just like, you felt unsupported when that happened. And, so, there's a lot of times where people can have great reasons to stop and quit, but you have to find that reason why. Remember why you started doing it, and pursue forward and try to surround yourself with people that can motivate you to keep going. And if you don't have it, you have to motivate yourself. And that's just to say the least, and not involve yourself in things that, will take away from what you've been building or trying to accomplish.
That's amazing. So tell me about just, so you get to, you got your master's at Lehman, you're now out in the real world. I know you've been working at Montefiore Hospital all along. What was your first real job after you got out of higher education?
I was researching at Columbia Medical School, and I was researching with them, and it was great. We were researching some interesting things, and then there was some problems, where the person I was the person I was working under was dating the head person. And when they fell out, now it left me, without really a boss or work to do. So now I'm not getting publications, you know, and they're supposed to take me into their doctoral program, but no work is happening. So I would never complete a doctorate there. So that's when I said, you know what, I'm just going to go to Ohio. I already got accepted there, you know, right after the master's, but they told me to come there because they wanted me to do research with them. I'm like, yo, y'all not going to publish any work. Y'all aren't happy. And this is going to affect, you know, what I feel we can accomplish. You know, I love those people, but it's just, it wasn't going the way I thought it would. And it was better for me to leave. And then I went over there to Ohio, and that was bad. So then I had to come back.
So I know this is a challenging time, right? You're moving from job to job. I imagine there's some bills from Lehman and the master's degree. You know, obviously you're going in, you know, you're pursuing the doctorate. How are you managing this financially, you know, with work and life? I don't know when meal clock comes into the story, so you can kind of give me some context.
Right. You know, so yeah, we can get into that. So luckily, I'm grateful. I was actually in medical school for a while. Right after my undergrad, I went to medical school, and it, you know, it was great, but I didn't like the way they were conveying the information. They weren't really for you. It seemed like it was really revenue based and not student based. They didn't really care if you succeeded, and so I just left. You know, I didn't like things about it, so I left. And luckily, you know, through the help of Dr. Brathwaite, he let me into a program where my master's was actually paid for. So they paid for my master's. They gave me $30,000 a year to research, you know, and that's what really, you know, gave me a leg up and made me want to really move forward in the sciences. You know, I got to travel to different countries. I traveled to Thailand. I traveled to, you know, just different places. I traveled to, like, you know, and then different states like Florida, DC. You know, I got to hang out with, you know, a lot of other master students who were people of color, and it really made me feel wholesome. And so I didn't have any debt, and then I started working, you know, and then, you know, at Columbia, and then from there, and then so you were talking about Columbia. So what made me start Me O'Clock was they were supposed to write a letter of recommendation to get me into the PhD program at the medical school. And he said if I get a test score that he would write it. But they told me a month before the test was supposed to happen. I'm like, people take a year to study for this test. I'm not going to get that score in a month. You know what I mean? So I didn't get the score, and he didn't write the letter of recommendation. And I was mad because he told me that he was going to write a letter, and when he came time to write it, he didn't write it. And so I was just so hurt that I needed a way to keep going and to stay motivated to even want to even continue to the PhD. And so that's where Me O'Clock was birthed out of, me feeling alone in academia once again and not having no one to really talk to about it. And I was just like, I got to keep going. And that's what I was like, let me just create something to keep me going. And maybe, and when other people look at Me O'Clock, maybe they'll feel motivated to keep going too, you know? And that's what made me do it.
Who is the professor that locked in and gave you that opportunity to get the paid for master's? Who was that? I know you mentioned the name, but I didn't catch it.
Dr. Brathwaite. Oh, Dr. Brathwaite. Dr.
Okay.
Claude Brathwaite. Yeah.
Very cool. So shout out to Dr. Claude Brathwaite. That's awesome.
Yeah, amazing guy. You know, yeah, he was always there for me. You know, just tried to, you know, once I got into he just tried to, you know, keep me in it to some extent, and, you know, steer me in the right direction the best he could. And you know, yeah, he did a lot of good things for a lot of people.
You know, one of the reasons that I'm doing this Alumni Connections project and speaking to all the different alumni from Randolph is to create those kind of opportunities for alumni. So I'm hoping that, you know, somebody's going to reach out to you that wants to be a doctor, that wants to, you know, study and you know, improve themselves, and say, hey, I know this guy's been through the same halls that I've been through. He comes from maybe some of the neighborhoods that I come from. Let me reach out to this guy and find out how I can make that path work as well. And hearing these stories, maybe we can do it in ways where, we're eliminating some of the headaches too, right? I appreciate the story around the frustration with, the communication from who you were dealing with, and they didn't write the review. And that's real life, that's real life stuff. I mean, that's just the way the world works. It's who you know, not what you know, all that jazz, right? And it really makes a big difference. I love the story of Mia Clark. I was reading it before we interviewed today, a couple days ago. And I mean, it's such a positive brand. I want to see it all over the place, right? I mean, I think it's something that people need. The message is really powerful. I'm going to throw up the website so folks can see it, because I really like the gear too. I told you I'm a watch head. I don't spend thousands of dollars on watches, but I always have something shiny on the wrist. That's my one piece of jewelry besides my wedding ring, and that's how it works, right? So I love the idea behind the message. There's some really nice watches in here, so I'm hoping people support the company and then also reach out to you and find out how they can start their own company. I think that's really valuable information. So the website is miaclock.com. Go there and check it out, and give some feedback to Dr. Jamie Parker. I want to make sure if there's folks that are watching, they want to ask some questions, that you do that. Submit questions in the Facebook comments, YouTube comments, and I will definitely get them to Dr. Parker here so we can get them answered. So, Dr. Parker, we know that you moved along. Finally, where did you get your PhD finally from?
Teachers College, Columbia University. So I ended up coming back to Columbia, once I left Ohio, and I was lucky enough to, be connected with Dr. Emden, who, I was grateful he took me in. He showed me the game, and I wouldn't have probably got the PhD without him. I don't know what I would have did. Maybe I might still be in Ohio. Maybe I might have came back and did some other business things, but I just knew a PhD would really help me, for whatever reason, feel complete and hopefully be in a better position to guide other individuals in some way, shape, or form.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
mm-hmm.
Tell us, right now, where you're at with Mia Clark. I know that you got the hair growth thing going on. Can you talk to me about how the research came about? Like, what interested you in that research? Like, what in terms of education and experience led you to doing this? Because it's a weird path. I mean, we didn't really get into a lot of the details of the type of research that you were doing before. So I'd love to know, like, the particulars of, what kind of research you've done in the past, what trials, and, as much as I know there's some things that you can't share, but, as much detail as possible to sort of show what your experience has been and why it led to, like, hair growth and that sort of thing.
Right. So, when I was in Ohio and my advisor left the school, and you got to understand how traumatic that experience was for me to leave Columbia University Medical Center to go to a school where not a lot of people know of on a national level, and to take a chance on a professor who I had never met, and for him to leave the school while I'm there, that just tore me apart. So now I had met a guy through a friend of mine named Lindsay, and he was a biochemist, and he was working on a product. So I'm like, listen, I'll work on it with you, since I don't have an advisor right now, and I have, nothing really to do. I mean, I'm just living out here, and I'm teaching, these students. But what else can I be doing with my time? That's what I'm about. How can I maximize my time? And so I started working on it with him, and we came up with this great formula that has been regrowing hair on people who have alopecia, who have vitamin deficiency, who, if they're having issues, no matter what the issue is, like they just gave birth, if some guys may have hairline issues, like no matter if women want their hair longer, like you name it, like we can fix it. Like dudes want their beard a little bit longer, if they want it a little bit fuller, like no matter what the situation is, we can fix it. So that, that's really what it came out of. And what it is too, like, so you asked how the research came out. What it is since we're science, we figured out, like everybody knows what can grow hair, like any product, like every product that can grow hair, like everybody knows about, or like any formula or any like ingredient everybody knows about. But the problem that they don't know is how to extract that nutrient properly. They don't know the proper extraction methods, and they don't know how to extract the nutrients without denaturing it. And that's what we know how to do. And so when we got these ingredients and put it together and put the right combination, that's what allows our product to work better than any other. If that makes sense. And so since then, we got proof of safety, and we also got clinical proof that it works on everybody who uses it. So
how does somebody?
So since I've finished the PhD,
I was going to say, is that something that's now available? Is that something that people can purchase? Are you the owner of that, or is that a partnership with somebody? Tell us about what the business side of that looks like.
Yes, it's definitely a partnership. Yeah, it's definitely a partnership. So, and I sell it on the Mia Clock website, under natural hair rejuvenation. And like I said, the product is all natural. I've even been shipping internationally, and
So is that something that you researched?
So
Is that something that you researched at the university? You researched on your own? Like, I'm just thinking about.
No, it's something I researched with him. But it wasn't through the university. And the tough thing for me is that when I presented the university with the idea, like, hey, we got something that regrows hair. This could make the university a lot of money. Why don't you get with me on this project, and we can, pump it through the school and get revenue through the school? Because a lot of people, are considering maybe not going to school. And now with Trump, he's not allowing international students into, the US anymore. So where are schools going to get their revenue from? People need a hook. I'm like, let this be the hook that bring people to, like, you need some type of marketing campaign. And you don't, what other businesses are you really working on? The name, after a while, the name isn't enough. So I'm like, and they wouldn't work with me on it. So I'm like, okay. So now, I got the clinical proof. Now it's just like I had to do it on my own. Like we had to hire a company to get to study it on their own, and then they determine it was, it works. Because if I do a study, now it's going to be now I'm going to be biased. You know what I mean?
Are you looking for any help right now? Is there anything that you're looking for in the marketplace for people to help with distribution? With what are the things that would help you if there was somebody in the alumni network that had some experience around?
Just getting exposure. The difficult thing is that for a person of color, like we don't really have access to, or we can't afford to hire other people of color to help us promote the product. Like you have to be, you have to be wealthy in order to get, a LeBron or get, any other celebrity to work with you. And if you don't have access to them, or if you can't afford it, if none of your friends can have the money to give you to get them to endorse it, then they're not going to.
So I got some ideas for you, Dr. Parker. I think we can help each other. I watch a lot of Gary Vee, and if you watch Gary Vee, I think if you digest some of that stuff, because right away, his words were in my head. Like, you just need to send some product to LeBron because he needs it, right? So, like there's a lot of folks that need it, and if you just distribute it in a smart way, in a way that makes sense, you'll get some product endorsements. But I've already interviewed several alumni that are very savvy, that understand social media, folks that you could definitely help each other. So I'm glad that we're talking about that. And then that's a great way. Somebody could help you. What are ways that you see yourself helping other alumni?
Honestly, just with any idea, like I had an idea today, that I just finished speaking to my super in my building about how the building can make some money. You know what I mean? Like just once I hear an idea, like it's just I'll magnify it tenfold. Like my cousin Christine told me about a movie she was writing, and I made the movie better just in a conversation with her. Just because like I don't want to do anything mundane, and anybody that's surrounded by me, I'm not gonna allow them to do anything mundane. I'm gonna be like, okay, that's what you're doing. All right, no, this is what you need to be doing. You know what I mean? And I'm just gonna give them praise when it's due. But if it's not to that level that I feel like other people can appreciate it, I want to figure out ways to get them there. And if I have to call people or try to partner up with them in some way, shape, or form, then that's what I want to do. But what I don't like is being more motivated than the person who's talking to me. And now I'm pushing them and they're just like sitting there. So that's something I try to recognize.
You to some motivated people, man. I got you. Like
Yeah, no, I believe it.
All right. So
I believe it.
Because I think you'll see from this, especially as you're checking this stuff out, it's funny because I'm reaching out to some alumni and they're very shy. Like they don't want to jump into these videos. And, for some people, they're doing all right. But I think for a lot of folks, the very reason that they're not going to do this interview because it's live, because it's online, because it goes on YouTube and Facebook and everything, for the very same reason that they're not willing to jump into this, that is the same reason maybe they're not having some of the success because, I'm basically, lending out the opportunity. So exactly what you're talking about, if I'm talking to somebody and I got to push you to do your idea, what's that about, right? So we're definitely connecting with people that, they're very much putting themselves out there. They're entrepreneurial minded. They're in careers. Everybody from, Trevor and Akosua to Jasmine Matos, who's a nurse at Presbyterian Hospital. Destiny Moore, who I'll send you her website because she's doing some of the social media stuff and that sort of thing. It just really, just every single interview has just been amazing. I've been really impressed with what you've been able to do and everything that you've been through in a sense where, I definitely could have used somebody pushing me. And I'll often say, well, my father didn't, my father was a single father for the most part. I had my mother, but she was on the West Coast. So when I tell the story, I'll say, my father didn't push me enough. And that's one thing, that's a lesson that I utilize today. I push my kids hard. My daughter's working on her book. She's a high honor student. My son is 11. He's a high honor student. They're both in middle school. She's 13. He's 11. They're both high honors roll. I'd be happy with them if they weren't doing high, but I've been pushing them to make sure that they're doing it. And so far, so good. And I would say, hey, my father didn't push me enough in high school to make sure that I was graduating the right way and getting into the right college. I respect your story so much because maybe there wasn't anybody pushing you, but you did it without it, right? I mean, that's an amazing thing to me. And I definitely heard you when your mother provided the landing pad, and I definitely had that with my father. But I didn't have the wherewithal to say, all right, this schooling is what I need, and that's what's going to provide the opportunities for me. And then I had people in my life, even I was interning with Charles Thompson, and he was very much rah, like get your education, and still somebody needed to convince me. So hopefully somebody seeing this YouTube video, Facebook video, it's the little push they need to understand, man. Nobody needs to push you. You can do it on your own.
Yeah. I hope they get that, from it too. Like I said, I'm not trying to say like my life was horrible, but like I said, I'm not going to act like it was easy. You know what I mean? Like I can sit here and say, give you all of this fluff, you know what I mean? But I just want to give people a real depiction of how things were, and just hope that there was just better over the mountaintop. And then, just to speak to it too, just briefly, I had hoped that, me getting the doctorate, would make police and other people not see me as a threat. But, and what I've observed is that no matter what I do, I'm still going to be seen as a threat. And that is very disturbing to, for me at least, to have gone through so much education and to still be, but you have to make the best of the scenario and do what you can with it, and be grateful for what you have, if that makes sense.
Well, let's talk about this
Yeah.
for a minute, because that's a very real issue. And, if somebody's looking at you, I know we got this slick picture of you in the suit and tie down below. But you're very much, if I'm going to go watch a hip hop video, or if I'm going to watch the latest drama unfolding of a man getting shot in some suburb by a police officer, right? You fit the profile. You fit the description, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's really important, especially for young Black men. And I don't want to be the one speaking on this, but I'll tell you my opinion, and I'll let you riff on it. But until we change our neighborhoods so that we are policing our own neighborhoods, we are the representatives for our own neighborhoods, we are the mayors and the governors of our states. You know, it's not enough for this to be the most diverse moment or the first Black president. I look at the videos where they talk about, there was a whole bunch of people when Barack Obama was elected president. Oh, we are now in a post-racial time. That's not the case. Obviously, the Trump presidency has waved the flag loud and clear on that. But I'd love to get your take on, what it's going to take for folks in the Bronx, folks in the communities around the nation that are filled with folks that don't fit the white male stereotype of what a doctor is supposed to look like, what a police officer is supposed to look like, right? Even on the sex side of things, we play with these things like, the doctor was looking at their child and the doctor was also their mom, and that's confusing to people when you say that sentence. I don't know if you've heard that sort of thing before, like the riddle of who it was, because the idea of around the doctors, they don't assume that the doctor is going to be female.
Oh, I get you. Yeah, I don't know if I know about the riddle, but yeah, I get you. There are people who, there's some gender bias going on. There's racial bias. There's just, you name it, it occurs. And I'm hoping that at some point we can move away from that through putting people in experience with other individuals from different backgrounds and cultures and races, and let them know, like, you can feel comfortable and safe with these people. And I just think people don't have enough interaction with one another to feel safe.
Yeah.
They believe what the media shares, and we just need real experiences. And we need, like you said, we need other depictions of individuals, through television. And we need, the content that gets selected to be seen to be diverse. Like the individual who's putting out the content, let it be a diverse individual. Like there's movies on, let's say Netflix, for example, that could be up there, but maybe isn't selected because the person, who is in charge of selecting may not be from a certain background, and I'm glad that there is more, more East Indian and more, Arabic, shows and Asian shows being shown on Netflix to give, everyone a better idea of who they are. A lot of times we only know what we see on the media too. And so we need representation from all cultures, not just Black people, not just more Spanish people, with just more ideas around all cultures, so we can, learn about each other and learn from each other.
Listen, I'm a part of a networking organization called Master Networks, and I am struggling to figure out how to talk about, because I've often coached people and looking for a job, or, even, looking for a college or school. If you go into that environment and all the leadership is white male, or one
Mhm.
thing in particular. I mean, I don't care what it is, I think one of the criticisms, like when Henry Rubio was principal at Randolph that I had, was that he was forming a team and they all looked and sounded one way, and it wasn't white, but it was all one background, and that wasn't exactly cool either, right? I think we all want to see ourselves being portrayed, right? So if I have a teacher, it's nice to see, if I'm a young Black woman, to see a Black female teacher. If I am Indian man, it is nice to see Indian man as a part of the administration or in the school, like, positive role models. The only Black female and the only Black male in the school should not be the security team, right? That to me sends the wrong message, right? It sends the wrong stereotypes. And I love the idea that, exactly what you represent is, taking a young man, a young woman, and saying, hey, you can be a PhD, and having them go forward, and you're changing how people perceive what a doctor looks like, what a PhD looks like. And I really appreciate that.
No, and it means a lot to me that you shared that. And my goal also was to show people that you can be cool, and smart at the same time. And I think some people think that you have to be one or the other, and that was one of the things that I struggled with. And and Dr. Emden did a great job showing me different literature, that discussed a lot of the dilemmas that I've felt as a man of color who felt as though I was a scholar and an academic, and just struggling with being what the media said I should be, what my neighborhood says I should be, and then what I know I can be. And to share something else, you mentioned the security guards, and honestly, some of my best connections with a lot of the schools I was at was with the security guards, because a lot of them were people of color.
Right.
And that was difficult for me, that I had a better connection with the security guards than some of the individuals at my school. And I mean, a lot of times at Lehman, or at Akron, or at Randolph, like the rapport with the security was a lot higher than the rapport with the teachers. And I think we have to do a better job teaching the students and allowing them to role play different scenarios with different individuals from different cultures, and just creating that ladder for them to grow, and understanding that they can grow, and not limiting them based on our expectations of where we feel they can grow, but understanding where they believe and would like to go.
That's great. I think that's a great way to end this. It's already been over an hour. It's been great talking to you. I would like you to sort of wrap this up for us, Dr. Parker. Would you kind of, again, just express what you want folks to sort of take away from this? And then if there's any ways that you'd like people to get in touch with you for opportunities. I know that you mentioned that you would like to help people around gaining opportunity, and then if anybody can help you with promoting and making people aware of your hair growth product, that would be a great help. Can you talk to us about how people would get in touch with you, and what you want people to take away from this interview?
Yeah, people could just message me through through social media. My social media is all Mia Clock. Call me. 718-781-9249. Any route is good. I answer my phone. I just want to build with positive people. I interact with my clients and customers all the time. I want to build with builders. I'm not necessarily looking for buildings. I'm just all about positivity and exchanging ideas, and just trying to make people happy, and trying to figure out ways to improve the community, and through that improve the world. And that's really what I'm about. Yeah.
You're a positive guy, man. Thank you. Dr. Parker, this was an absolute pleasure talking to you through your story. I'm looking forward to politicking. I'm going to close the broadcast, but I want you to stick around so I can talk to you for a few minutes. Everybody, go to Mia Clock.
Yeah, sounds great. And thank you so much. Yeah.
Pleasure. I'm going to show the website one more time for anybody that didn't catch it before. And so anyone that's interested in the products that are offered from Meal Clock and Dr. Parker, again, the watches are if going back to my 90s lingo, the watches are fly. They are dope. They're very cool. And the message around making yourself a priority, making yourself important and stand out is embodied in Dr. Parker's story. So I hope that you'll take advantage of the brand and go and get something to represent and wear around your neighborhood and your community and promote it. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming in and checking us out. Stay tuned. Tomorrow I have Anthony Rodriguez and Veronica Atkins, two really, really great alumni that I've been personally involved with over the years. I'm really excited to talk to them. If you're watching this on YouTube, smash the subscribe button, hit like on the video. And if you're on Facebook, go over to YouTube and find the subscribe button and smash it and hit the like button. Thank you very much, Dr. Parker.
Thank you.